Is this a scam? Do I trust this guy? How about this company? One author is recommending this company or service, but another author says to avoid it. Now, all these questions, to me, boils down to one question, really, and that is, who do I trust? Now, in today's video, which is a collaboration with other author tubers, I wanted to share my top publishing tip that will help you avoid any publishing scams, and that is due diligence. That's right, this is my top tip, due diligence. So if you know how to do due diligence, by all means, you can click off and hit that like button on the way out, no problem. But regardless of whom you hear things from or where you see it, you've got to check it out and see if it suits you and your risk tolerance, right? Now also, sometimes companies and services, they change their business model. So what was once a good recommendation can turn sour. That's just, life. Now look at the recent Findaway Voices debacle, right? It was a great company, and then it got bought by Spotify. Business practices changed, and then they really tried it on with outrageous terms and conditions. Don't get me wrong, I'm still a Findaway Voices for now, but I wanted to highlight that, businesses can change over time, and you need to still conduct your own due diligence at the time of using any service or company. Before I show you how I personally conduct due diligence and avoid scams in the publishing space, I'd like to ask you for a favor. Give that like button a panda cuddle, and let's dive in. Now, the way I do due diligence, basically using a combination of things, and there's no one silver bullet in my opinion anyway. So I always start with Ally's website, where you can just literally take a few seconds and punch in the name or a combination of words, and hopefully you'll find something. Now, if not, you can always try something at Author Beware website. Sometimes there's good stuff there. Obviously, there's word of mouth from other authors. Don't sit on that one, because that one is actually quite powerful. If someone's been bit by someone, some scam in the past, hopefully they will be kind enough to tell you to avoid it. But even when they do say avoid it, make sure you do your check, right? And that's part of it. Okay. Now, sometimes I also like to just type in company names into a search engine like Google and see what comes up. I don't tend to read all the reviews from Trustpilot or wherever, because I find them, in just my personal opinion, some of them can be skewed or biased. In some cases, it's just downright manipulated, so I can't trust the reviews at all. If someone has a bad experience and then they want to have a vent, they're going to go onto these websites and say they had a bad experience. But it may not be that company's problem, may be the person. So, there are pros and cons to these review websites, okay? And just keep that in mind, basically. Now, obviously, recommendations from authority figures or companies, one that comes to mind is Kindlepreneur, Dave Chesson. He recently recommended 100 covers, which I use, by the way. I use them, I have used them, and yes, I would recommend them myself. But obviously, Kindlepreneur is, financially motivated. He's got a financial incentive. But that doesn't mean he's wrong, right? So just because, authority figures or companies recommend something, it doesn't actually mean they're wrong. It's not, that in itself is not a scam, You have to do your own due diligence and make sure you're happy with it. And you never know, you may be pleasantly surprised. I was fine with it. I was more than happy with 100 covers myself, but just because I was happy with it doesn't mean you will be, for the price points and the service and everything. So that's something you have to deal with, basically. Now, just because someone is incentivized, it doesn't actually mean you don't do your due diligence, right? So, I mentioned Kindlepreneur, but many people do, like Dale L. Roberts, myself, and many others. We use affiliate links as a means of generating additional income, and that doesn't mean what we recommend is bad or evil, right? Obviously, there's financial incentive there, but you doing your due diligence and make sure it fits your needs should kind of alleviate any issues that you may have around the financial incentivization. But, bottom line is you have to do your checks. And I've kind of alluded to this earlier. The final point I want to make around this is your mileage may vary. Okay, it really will. Because something that has worked for someone may not work as well, if at all, for you. That doesn't actually mean the service in itself is a scam, But so doing your own due diligence will definitely make it easier to spot and identify scams. Just because some of these companies don't really give you the results that you may be looking for, that doesn't in itself make the service or company a scam. So just make sure you bear those 2 points in mind as you do your due diligence. Okay. Now, if you'd like to share how you do your due diligence, and checks and balances to avoid scams, please share them in the comments so we can all learn something. I'm not sure if you'll see this, but I'd love to know what Keith Wheeler's top tip about publishing or self-publishing is. If you know Keith, feel free to reach out to him and let him know. You know, I'd love to see a video on his top tip on self-publishing, really. By the way, if you're looking for more top tips shared by others, check out this playlist, which I've set up right here. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't.